Oh,
Oh.
now we are.
And now we are. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? It is 11:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Of course, it is 13:30 or 1:30 p.m. in New Zealand. I believe it's 9:30 p.m. Wednesday in the US. And we're here with Under the Rug. Just a bit of a fireside chat today. Nothing really. If there's something you guys want to talk about, then drop it in the chat. Oh, I'm like, why can I hear that? Because that's me. I haven't muted that. I'm hearing myself come through there. Yeah, guys, what's that?
Can you hear me all right? Do I need my headphones in?
I can hear you all right. It is clearer when they are in, but that's entirely up to you. So, guys, if you are joining us for the first time, please like and subscribe to this channel so that you can be notified whenever we do go live. We do this show live each and every week. We are looking to put more content on the site in between times. But at the moment, this is what we do. Every week we sit here and we basically just have a bit of a chat about the things that are going on. So really, this week is Neil's been away. I've been tied up with Anzac commitments. So we haven't really had a show organised. So this is really just a fireside chat to say, hey, how you doing and what's happening? But there's a couple of cool videos that we're going to share with you. Neil, how you doing, brother?
Oh, look, awesome. And it's not a fireside chat. This is under the rug stuff, It's under the rug.
Well, it's bloody cold, almost cold enough to have a fire going here.
I've got into my winter woolies now, so I guess it kind of look, we don't have a fire here, so there's no fireside.
No. Oh, we need to.
But in answer to your question, though, I'm pretty good. There's a sense of big stuff looming, and. All
halloumi,
the writing.
like the cheese.
Yeah. Carola, what's the time in Winnipeg, please? We've got the time in the US, but you guys got to be a few hours difference for sure.
Well, aren't they West Coast? So that'll make it like 3 or 6 hours earlier. Correct. Give us the right time there, Carola. Anyway. And Roger, welcome you guys. Pleased to see you here, as always. Got this really cool video that we want to share with you real quickly.
No, get those lights off. Off. Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready? Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights. Turn them off. So much nicer. No, get those lights off. Off.
So, yeah. You might go, so what? He said turn off the lights. He did, but that's because there's a cue drop. I'll read the cue drop because I actually haven't got the actual cue drop up in front of me, but I have got what it says. It says, should the lights go out, please know that we are in control. Do not panic. We are prepared and assets are in place. God bless. I must go for good at this point. Cue. So Trump's screaming, turn off the lights. That to me says something's about to go down. What do you reckon, Neil?
I guess from another perspective and looking at some of the Twitter posts from George, and we all know George Magazine and that whole site has kind of been saying a bit of similar stuff. It's like there's, pray for the times that we're in now. It's like, it's kind of like, certainly suggesting that something is very imminent. And that, for me, excites the hell out of me because that's closer and closer to, I guess, the day that all of us have been waiting for. Exciting.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, there's a little bit of fallout this week too from Tucker Carlson, the top rating anchor on Fox being dropped. And of course the rumours that he may end up on CNN, given that old mate over there, Everman stepped down at the same time. So what I'm hearing behind the scenes is that CNN's been cleaned up, but I guess time will tell. Well, but I've also have you heard the rumour that he's controlled opposition, Tucker Carlson?
Well, if you go and look at some of his history and what he was associated with prior to that. But I think it was prior to 2016 when a lot of people were given the opportunity. You either stick with what you're doing or you can do the right thing and come and be on our side and do as we instruct you to. So, to have to have his demise happen so quickly. But I mean, if you didn't see it coming, based on how out there that he's been with global events and stuff going on, and calling out bloody the presidential bullshit that's going on there, and those the dark side, calling for him to be booted. So Murdoch finally did it.
Let's face it, Murdoch was just been bound down to his masters. He might be a billionaire, but he's only a billionaire because he's been someone's lapdog for so long.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the overnight results of Fox.
They lose $900 odd million in value.
and a million viewership. I mean, they probably only had 1.2 if they're lucky viewership.
No, he was the highest rating. He had 3 million viewers.
Yeah,
during his shows. So yeah.
So that that's massive. That's a massive chunk out of their revenue. What's going on? But it's certainly, he was probably one of the truer journalists out there that was speaking the truth.
Did you just make up a word?
Truer.
Is that a real word, ladies and gents? Put in the chat if it is. I'll stand corrected. But it's all right. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I make up words all the time.
It's not.
Whatever suits.
I think true is more of a word than worser.
Possibly. Nothing could be worse than that photo you sent me.
Yeah, well, no.
Shall we show it? No, I won't do that to you.
Discernment with that, yeah.
Yeah.
You could certainly show the little video that I sent you on Saturday night as to how life should be at the moment for everyone.
Absolutely. Neil sent me a compromising photo before. I'm still trying to work out how much I'm going to extort him for it. Okay.
I guess the top half I was reasonably impressed with based on my age and physique.
All I'm going to say is it must have been cold. This is how life should be, ladies and gents.
Thought I'd do just a little video to show you the warmth. Here's my feet, bare feet. Little pond,
it was clearly before the second photo.
Right up to the beautiful little cottage that we're staying. Man, this is fucking awesome. Anyway, enjoy.
That ain't living, Barry. Sorry, that's BCF. So plenty going on, really. I mean, what else? We touched a little bit on Tucker, but what about the evidence coming out now that none of the elected officials in the US are actually governed by the oath? None of them signed the oath, so none of them are actually official.
Oh, friggin', that's bloody Kamala Harris leading that one out the box, isn't it? It's like it starts from the top all the way down. But but I mean, if you're not awake to this, it's just been a shit show from day one. They're not real.
They're absolutely not real. I think Sam sent me something else yesterday. You go, oh yeah, I'll show it to you, because I was like, it was just too funny because it's so obvious. Like we've got they replaced Joe again. I mean, that doesn't look like the same Joe Biden we've been looking at for the last couple of months. It's a different guy. Come on. He almost looks like the original Joe Biden. Almost.
Yeah. Well, they had to obviously change the suit a little bit. Maybe they put a different actor inside there with, I guess, some of the coming events. They need someone that can talk more coherently than the one that they've had.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, if we go back to what I just said about it coming out, and actually, like, I think there's been some mainstream news outlets that have actually reported on it too, about these guys not being in any official capacity because they haven't sworn their oath. Now, the same could be said for many other countries, Canada probably being one of them, Australia, New Zealand, just probably to name a few. But if you think about, and even I saw a video from Leeds this morning, it was on the 15-minute cities. They've taken out basically a 4-lane road, so 2 lanes each way, and reduced it to a bus lane and riding paths. And this is all precursor to the new 15-minute cities. I mean, why would you take a good flowing traffic system out and put in one that's going to congest everything? Well, it's because they don't expect the traffic, because they're going to lock you down into your homes. This doesn't have to be the way. We still have the power here, but what we've got to remember, we've got to step into that, and we've got to start demanding things of the people that supposedly represent us. And if they aren't prepared to do what the people want them to do, the will of the people, because that's supposedly what they're there for, then they need to be kicked the fuck out. At the moment, we are behest. New Zealand's no different, Australia's no different, US no different, behest to the United Nations. And we've spoken about that corrupt organisation before. They are all unelected officials. They're sent there by the country. Well, you've only got to look at the politicians. The Prime Minister now of Britain, he's also one of them in Klaus Schwab's fucking Young Leaders Initiative. So, you know, the same with Trudeau, the same with Taxinda. Thank fuck she's gone. And that Chris Hipkins idiot, he doesn't even know what a fucking woman is.
Oh no! Well, we saw that the other week, didn't we? I had to laugh. One of the videos I saw, I'm not sure it was when Biden was in the UK. He went straight past him and shook the hands of some older guy in a uniform. I thought that was funny.
Honestly, I mean, I thought it was quite funny after Bush got out because there was all those Bushisms that come out. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on YouTube and just search for Bushisms. And there's videos 10 minutes long of him just making gaffes, and they're freaking hilarious. And I thought that was the funniest thing since sliced bread, but now there's even better ones because there's Biden's. It was like, turn around and try to shake the air, and it's like, come on. This guy's not all there.
Yeah, no. Well, I reckon one of his doubles was one of those robot things. I swear by that one, especially those walking ones and him tripping up and down the steps, getting on in and off of. It wasn't even Air Force One, was it?
No, it was a green screen.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't Air Force One. It was a plane that was made out. Well. The camera angles showed it walking out of Air Force One. The door, I think, is above the wing. If you look at what he's supposedly Air Force One, the door he's walking out of is kind of below the wing. It's probably like walking out of the cargo.
They reactivated. That's where you put them in computer equipment. They reactivated him for his time. Reboot him. Time to wake up.
Yeah. Did you see that other one where he had from the back of his head and he scratched the back of his head and his mask sort of...
Yeah, crinkled up.
Yeah. Just craziness. Absolute craziness. But, you know, you talk about lockdowns and that sort of stuff, and there's a bit of word on the streets, you know, that they're working, you know, towards that again. And then we have this attack in Sudan, and it supposedly hit one of these biochemical labs again, and
which the ones that don't exist or do exist? I can't keep up.
I'm not sure, or whether just trying to remember the story correctly, or whether the people that see that they've either bombed it or they've taken it over, so that potentially is in the hands of the wrong people or the right people. But I don't know. Watch this space and see what comes out of that. If we end up with a global lockdown because of whatever's been contained in there or been released out of there. But any excuse to them.
I've heard it's supposed to be Ebola.
Oh, okay. What about bird flu? Did that one not fly?
Thanks. I'm here a week. Try the veal. Yeah, no, I don't know. But you've only got to look. We've actually got some really good indicators now. You've only got to look back through history to see what's actually causing the biggest problems. I mean, we can go right back to the Spanish flu in 1917, I think it was. Right? What was the biggest contributor to fatalities and hospitalizations? Well, masks was one of them. And the other one, all of a sudden, hey, Amber's here. Hello, how are you? Pleased you're here with us. The other one, obviously, infection rates and everything started to increase after women people were given that shot. The same thing happened for the Hep A and Hep B trials and we've covered this before, the Hep A and Hep B trials in New York, San Francisco, and LA. Well, what happened in New York, San Francisco, and LA around those Hep A and B vaccine trials? All of a sudden, there was a new disease come on the market called AIDS, right? HIV. So there's no coincidence. You've only got to look at the statistics to show the rate of autism since we've started increasing the schedule for kids at a young age. And if we go one step further, if we go into Japan, and guys, this show isn't supposed to be about knocking science and stuff, but let's look at the evidence. When you go into Japan, when they banned, they reduced the vaccine schedule, and they actually banned some for the kids before the age of 4 or something like that, and it reduced the sudden infant death syndrome by more than 50%.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. And it's not a coincidence that the rate of autism has gone from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in fucking 500 or whatever it is. There's not. It's and for you to think that it could be, you might be fucking stupid. I'm serious. Yeah.
You've only got to go back 20, 30 years and you look at the statistics. And then if you look at what were injected into us as newborns back then, and there might have been 3 or 4 different vaccines. Now there's like bloody 20. Yeah.
Nothing affected me. Sorry.
Now there's probably 20 or 30 different things that are going in, and mercury and aluminium and friggin' all sorts of things that we don't need in our bodies.
It's funny you said something about mercury there. I actually, as much as in big quantities, it's probably not. But mercury is not the big bad metal that we've been led it to believe.
Oh, no, definitely not. Well, it is in our mouths in conjunction with the other shit that they put in.
But you can literally hold it in your hand, and it's actually safe to do so. So yeah, and there is an amount that we do need, but not to the extent that they're using it. No.
There's mercury is something to do with energy. I saw a video, and you know those great big solid iron working blocks, like
an anvil.
Yeah, one of those.
Right. Yep.
And you
know what you're talking about now.
You know the weight in one of those. I mean, what would you say one of those weighed?
Oh, depends on what you're working on, but 100 kgs, 50 kgs to 100 kgs.
So
They're not light.
So I've seen that put into a body of mercury, and it floats like a blooming bit of plastic.
How'd they go again?
I don't think it makes it.
I wish I'd recorded that. We could have a Bimman song made out of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But that, there's just we were talking before we came on air. It's like, the history that's there. You showed that picture to me of the rock face that looked like an elephant.
Oh, we can have a look at it again if you want.
It's like you just go into that. It's like,
let me find it.
It doesn't look like an elephant. It is a goddamn elephant, but it's stonified or whatever you call it. Petrified. How did that happen?
In case you needed a reminder, the rocks were alive. This is Elephant Rock in Iceland, one of just many examples of our much larger past.
Yeah. And there's so much of that around as well. I saw something the other day, and it was, it wasn't, well, it may have been in South Africa, but it wasn't the Tabletop Mountains. But to look down from the top, it was this beautiful flat mountain, like the top of it was just perfectly flat, like a table. And it had these valleys and things coming off it that looked like tree roots, funnily enough. And when you looked at it, it was round. So there's plenty of, it doesn't take much of imagination to go, well, shit, that could have been a tree. And it's literally been 10, 15 kilometers across. It's freaking huge. And if you look at it, if you look from the surface, look from the top-down view, you can actually see the rings, like in the rings of a tree. So there's so much that we haven't been told. I like what Amber said, and I put it up on the screen before. I truly believe all this is happening, both good and bad, to get us to go within and start listening to the wisdom of our own souls. We are the knowledge of the universe. We have the knowledge of the universe within. You're 100% correct in that, Amber. That's exactly what I believe. And the more research I do, we sort of mentioned this on one of our earlier shows. We've almost been going 6 months. Can you believe that? One of our earlier shows, we talked about the Cristo, the which is the sacred oil, which comes from the sacrum and travels up your spine, up the 33 vertebrae, 33 degree Mason. Jesus died in the 33rd year. Like there's a lot of synchronicities here, but it comes up the 33 vertebrae to the Cristo, and it's the claustrum. The claustrum, sorry. So it comes right up into here, and it's what we refer to as the good oil. But the more we look at that, and the more I learn and study about Scripture, I've said this before, it's been controversial, but I fully believe that, it's no secret that I believe that organized religion is a big lie. Organized religion is done for one thing, and that is to divide people and keep them subservient. That's what I believe about organized religion. Jesus Christ, if he walked this earth, didn't walk this earth and say, right, if you believe in me, you're Christian. No, he didn't fucking say that. He promoted love and tolerance. That's what he was about. And I believe the Prophet Muhammad promoted love and tolerance. And even if you go and read the Quran, where it says about, and my good friend Nasser shared this with me a couple of weeks ago, nowhere in there did it say to go and kill all the infidels. It was a specific battle that they were talking about. And they said, yeah, go kill those motherfuckers, because if you don't, they're going to kill us. That's what that was about. But Westerners have taken that and gone, see, it's a hating religion. No, it's not. All religion's the same. It's a dogma to try and keep people trapped and under control. If we really understood the Scriptures, and remember, that's just somebody's interpretation of it. If we really look at it and read it, then we understand that the universe is within us, just like Amber just said. And if we really want to ascend, if we really want to understand what heaven is, it's here. It's in our head. It's what we create. It's the access to that. And I'll tell you what, if it takes me to my fucking dying day, I am going to work out exactly how people do that. Because there's no other path. That is the path to enlightenment. Fucking Buddha figured that out and sat under a tree. 40 years, sweet as. I'm enlightened. Nothing fucking fazed him. Sorry. And guys, Buddhism's not a fucking religion. It's a way of life. It's the same as Hinduism. Yes, they have deities. In Hinduism, they have deities that they pray to. But you know what? That's no different to praying to the universe. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I just, I apologize for my rant for breaking off.
That's not a rant. It's not a rant. I mean, you're just sharing your truth, and your truth comes from the knowledge that you've discovered along the way by discovering, the truth. And it's probably more. There's more truth for it. There's more to that than the opposing arguments. If you call them arguments, it's like,
yeah.
You just gotta ask yourself as an individual. If you are hating on life and people, that's like we're a caring, loving individual species. We don't want to kill each other. We don't want to create arguments all the time. All that's part of the program and everything. It's part of the dividing mechanisms that they've implemented to keep control of us. So, this is what the exciting part of being here right now is, because that whole controlling mechanism is in free fall, and we're coming to the end of that. So, I guess for us, it's like coming to the great awakening, the great knowing what the truth really is. And that's what's so exciting, because we're getting closer and closer to some real truths. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just, I heard everything you said, man. I just saw something that Andrew put up. We've got language, so we can't communicate. Religion, so I can love and hate. So true.
Mm.
We've got language, so we can't communicate. I want you to, women, really, really take heed of that lyric. I don't know if I've said it on the show, but I've certainly said it before. I had an experience years ago, 2015, when I really started diving deep into journaling and getting right into it. And I think I've spoken about reading Asking It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks, Abram Hicks. And I literally followed her process and found my guide. And I know I've spoken about that before. But during one of my meditation sessions, in fact, it was as I was going to sleep, I literally went to this beautiful, beautiful white place. And it's almost indescribable. And the reason I couldn't describe it, and I struggled with it for days. I journaled about it, so I could go back and find that journal entry up and did a blog post about it. But the reason I couldn't fully describe and not comprehend, but convey how amazing it was and the experience I had was simply because the language of the souls is not spoken. And that lyric sums that up beautifully. We've got language so we can't communicate. Religion so I can love and hate. Well, you don't need a religion to love and hate. I mean, our essence, you said it perfectly, Neil, is that we come from love. And once we realize, once we can get back to that, then everything else becomes that much simpler. But the language of the souls is not spoken. It's felt. It's a feeling. It's a motive. Why do you think we're told, particularly men from a young age, to women, you stuff that down. You don't cry. You don't do this. We're not taught to embrace or feel our emotions. We should be. It's part of life. If you're cutting that off, then you're cutting part of yourself off.
Jeepers, well, when we travelled doing what we did, we quite often shared our emotions. Our passion comes to the surface and boils over, and it boils over in tears and growth. We shared some amazing stuff, but yeah, it's like when you walk into a room, you can feel the energy. You know the energy in that room before you walk in.
Yep.
And you kind of like, and sometimes before you walk into a room, you know the energy you're walking into.
You
got
to put up your own little guards.
we have such an inner knowing, but we just don't listen to it. We're just not in tune with that. We're not taught to be in tune with that. And I don't know if that's anything to do with the pineal gland, and the they've calcified it, for us. Our pineal glands aren't working as they should be, and so that's a connection. But in all of that, though, this whole realm that we're on is increasing, is raising in vibration, So I think we're getting to a point where that vibration that we raise to is enough to sort of break off the shackles that have been holding us down, this lower vibration. Mm-hmm. And it's like I just naturally carry a higher vibration, and I like being around. I don't like being around negative vibrations, and those negative vibrations can come from simple conversations, but it's like what the conversation's about. It doesn't resonate with me. I don't like talking about it, and that's generally a lot of the shit that's gone down over the last couple of years. I don't need to talk about it anymore. I'm aware of it. I've accepted it. It's like, I don't need to dwell on it. And there's so many people out there today that are still dwelling on it. And it's a negative vibration. You need to raise above that. But you need to recognize that because it's not healthy for you. It's not healthy.
That comes back to as much as it's not pleasant, it's a place of familiarity. That's where we've been conditioned to spend the majority of our lives. So, we have to do that work. And just talking with a good friend of ours, Neil, just last week about this. We had a good chat backwards and forwards. You've got to do that work. You've got to be prepared to do that work on yourself, and that's not easy. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, and that's probably why not many people do it. It's kind of like thinking, like Henry Ford said. Thinking is one of the hardest things you'll do. That's why so few people partake in it. But that's the same as that work on yourself. You've got to be prepared to shine the light where. And taking off something you've just said there, Neil, I don't want to look at those things that are going to bring me into lower vibration. No, I understand that fully. Sometimes you have to acknowledge it, and I think you said, I've acknowledged it. You have to acknowledge it and look at it and go, okay, cool, that's how it was. I had a good question from Heron last night. He said to me, he goes, we could have been doing this and this and this, and I've just seen that I've wasted all this time. And I said, yeah, okay, and what is you dwelling on that right now? What good is that doing? He's like, well, nothing. I was like, so it's just making you unhappy. And he goes, yeah. I said, so why bother giving it any thought? You've acknowledged it. You've said, okay, this. If I'd have done this, great. Now, if you'd have done that, then you'd be here. So let's turn around now, draw a line in the sand and start from here. And somebody else asked me, he said, what's the best way I can do that? That's the best way you can do that. Like, seriously, have a conversation with yourself, ask yourself some questions, get some answers. Forget about the first one because it's probably bullshit. Forget about the second one because it's probably bullshit too. But eventually you're going to start getting to a point. And what I would suggest, if you're looking for answers about anything, if you're looking for answers, put a good set of headphones on, listen to some music that doesn't have words in it. There's plenty of classical stuff on YouTube. There's plenty of focus music on YouTube. Put that on, start writing, ask yourself a question that you want the answer to, and just write whatever comes out. Don't think about it, just write. Half of what you write might be absolute bullshit, but when you go back and read through it, there's going to be some absolute gold nuggets in it that you go, holy shit, I never knew that. Like the first time I discovered writing in the third person. You know, I mean, it was always I did that, and I want this, and da-da-da-da-da. And then when I read back through it, at some point in time, it switched and went, you are, you will, you do. I was like, hold on, why am I speaking to myself like that? And what it turned out was that was the pretty much the point where my hemispheres of my brain switched over and I started having a real conversation with myself about everything. It was a balanced conversation. Now, I've attuned that to a point where I can now go in and just start writing in the third person and what I need comes out. But it didn't happen like that to start with. But that, you know, half of what I wrote to start with was bullshit too. So starting is, I think, is the big key there.
That's what I was going to pick up on, what you just said there. You know, the big thing, the big takeaway from everything that you're saying there is to start.
Yep.
But you go back, most people don't know they need to start. They're too busy stuck in their own little cycle of life, going around nowhere and wondering why they're fucking not happy.
Stuck on that hamster wheel.
But they think they know it all. They think they know everything. But it's like, you know, it's like until you realize that you don't know everything and that what you're doing is not going to get you what you truly want. Until you're at that point, no one's going to start. You know, it's like, you know, I've been to many conversations with people that can't get past that point. It's like, and realizing that there's, you know, just spirituality. It's like, ooh. No,
it's taboo.
Yeah, you know, that's part of the programming. You know, not to question and challenge all those things. You know, so once you start, you know. And writing it down, one of the first times that I got to do that was when we went our first trip to Belarus, when we got sort of there. But it's like, I wrote stuff down. Oh, what a load of bloody cold wash all this is. And 6 months later, what I'd written down, what I was like, holy shit,
It's
power in that.
come to light. Oh, absolutely, there's power in that. Absolutely, there's power in that. It's one of the reasons why I actually put a post out, and you responded to it. I put a post out on Facebook a couple of weeks ago about who would be interested in doing a webinar on journaling properly, you know, on why you would do it. And it was a reasonable response. So it is something that I do intend to do am intending to create is a webinar on journaling and the benefits from it and what you can really do from a daily journal practice. And guys, I can tell you the difference in my persona, the way I am with myself and the way I am with everybody else when I do and don't journal. If I miss a day journaling, I am a cranky motherfucker. It's just not a pleasant place to be because there's unrealized thoughts that are there that need to come out. And even if I never ever look at those journals again, and I do, I index my journals and I go back through them because there's always something in it that I can use in a presentation somewhere. But even if I didn't go back through it, it doesn't matter. Once it's dumped, it's dealt with.
Yeah. Dump. I think we're getting a major dump coming shortly.
Yes. Yep. I think you're right.
Sorry, I was my mind withered off to another thought of dump, but yeah.
Didn't have anything to do with the double digger bus, did it?
Well, that would be lovely. Absolutely lovely.
It was funny. I have to share this with you. I'll leave names out of it. But Sarah said something to me about a recent trip to an Asian country and somebody who was absent from that. And they cited the reasons in being that it had a premonition of something bad happening. And Sarah told me, and I immediately said to her, there's no fucking double deckers in Thailand. And I won't say the country that it wasn't Thailand, but yeah, there's no double deckers there. She just cracked up laughing.
Oh, I haven't heard that story. That's news to me, but nice warming little story all the same.
Warms the cockles of your heart, doesn't it? Oh, shit.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, guys. It's an inside joke Neil and I had 4 years ago when we were in London, which is where there's plenty of double-decker buses. Actually, might have been 5 years ago. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. But, yeah, there's certainly, normally we would have the show lined up on what we wanted to talk about today. And I guess we've both sort of had some busy times since last Thursday. And so I haven't been online as much as I normally would have been. But in all reality, I haven't really seen much stuff coming through that's any different, and it's like where it's coming through from, they're credible people, but it's like it's not from the source. And so it's like, we want to be able to deliver content that really has credibility. And it's just, to me, and what I'm watching and where I watch, which is what excites me, is the RV, the revaluation, because everything else that's happening around us, whether it's political, whether it's health, any of these other areas that we're being attacked on, is really just part and parcel of the changing of the guard of the old system, which is the old SWIFT banking cartel bloomin' pyramid system that we've been indoctrinated in all our lives, in our parents' lives, in our grandparents' lives. That is actually what is collapsing. And so for me, in watching it happen, one of the things that's really coming in through to the mainstream, which has weight behind it, is the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. There's so much happening mainstream that is coming from government and banking level that says that this thing is in the process of actually happening, and sometime really, really soon.
Yeah, and what was that last thing you said to me? You said something to me just before we went live. It was about Argentina dropping the US dollar.
Yeah. And going with the yuan.
I saw something interesting. I think, Sam sent it with me. He's my main intel guy. About the yuan yesterday, about China not wanting it to be an international currency, because if it was, that means they could, a lot of the, like there's some people in China that are super, super, super freaking wealthy, like crazy rich Asians, right? And they can only get a limited amount of their money out of the country each year because China police that yuan so tightly. So for it to be an international currency would mean that they would lose their power in their own country because those wealthy people would be able to get the fuck out. So I don't know that will be the case. That said, I think it will be easier for other countries to use it and trade with it.
Oh, I think all the BRICS nations are all trading their own currencies now anyway.
Yeah. And how's that made possible?
Through the Ripple ledger. Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, there's so much writing on the wall. There's so much evidence out there that is the case.
Yeah, absolutely. There is.
But I've also read somewhere the last couple of days that there might have even been this morning that there's more yuan being traded now than the US dollar. It's overtaken the volume being traded.
Well, was it from the 18th to the 25th? I think it was the 18th to the 25th. So between the 18th and the 25th of April, there was meant to be that Operation Sandman, where 196 odd countries were going to drop the US dollar en masse. And I guess seeing Argentina drop it, it's probably, that's a good sign that that's actually happening.
Yeah.
We are literally seeing the implosion of the US dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, that's both exciting and terrifying at the same time, because if we think of what the knock-on effects of that, and if you've never watched The Big Short, you should go and watch it, because Brad Pitt's character, he kind of mentors a couple of kids that sort of stumble onto the whole Big Short thing, and they do all right out of it, but they're getting excited about how it's going to, and how much money they're going to make, and then Brad Pitt sort of brings it back to ground and he goes, yep, you're going to make a lot of money, but realize that in doing so, you're seeing the collapse of Middle America, and it's going to be hundreds of thousands of people devastated and wiped out. And that's where we're at. But hopefully it's the bad guys.
Well, you're talking about, you know, The Big Short as a movie. You know, the movie was based on true events.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's my point. But
the thing is the collapse that's coming is 100 times worse than what that was. And it's going to have the ripple effect around the world. That's why, and I've seen so much stuff over the last few years about being prepared. You know, being prepared for this, and the ones that are going to be running around like chickens with their heads chopped off are the ones that aren't prepared. And I'm pretty sure most people that come on under the rug are awake and enough and being prepared enough for the times that are coming. And you know, my daughters still look at me going, "Yeah, Dad, yeah, when heard it all before," roll their eyes at me. Oh, here we go again. But every day is another day closer.
Yeah.
And I have never seen so much, you know, positive information coming out at the moment as to, you know, just how close we really are. And if the Iraqi dinar is any indication on that, that is probably one of the most talked about or out there in that's not hidden information on this whole transition back to a currency which is really at the end of the day 3 or 4 times, if not 5 or 6 times stronger than the US dollar.
Yeah.
And to revalue back to that is huge. And there are powers within the American states that have copious amounts of that revaluation. So hopefully those are the right people that have it for the right reasons, is to start rebuilding.
And from what I gather, that's been part of the reason for it being as slow as it has, is because they're trying to identify those people, those what's the word, nefarious players or actors, but before that, so that they can get them straight away. I mean, we don't see that video this morning. Who had it? Let's see if I can find it.
That's what the quantum financial system is. It comes out on that platform is going to basically eliminate the rest of the evilness and the bad intentions. Yeah. But the Iraqi dinar is already is already on the gold standard, from my understanding. Let me just read some of the stuff here. There's a guy I follow by the name of Mark Z, who's very, very well connected. And he's sort of tied in with Militiaman, who is very well sort of reconnected with mainstream information that comes out of Iraq. So let me just read this bit here. It came out of his last Zoom call, YouTube call, probably less than 12 hours ago. But it says, let's start with Iraq. The Trade Bank of Iraq and the foreign transfer can be made through our branches through the central bank. They can now make foreign transfers to all countries of the world through accounts opened in Iraqi dinars. The enormity of this means they are fully 100% international. Now today, which was yesterday, Wednesday, the Iraqi Trade Bank issued a statement regarding foreign commercial transfers. The media expert of the bank, I can't pronounce his name, stated in a statement received by this news agent that customers of the Iraqi Trade Bank from Iraqi private sector companies can make foreign commercial transfers through the platform of the Central Bank of Iraq to all countries of the world through the bank's branches, through their accounts opened in Iraqi dinars with the bank. It is calculated at official rate approved by the Central Bank of Iraq. There's actually a link to that official site that's talked about that. But somewhere in here, so this is one of the key things we have been waiting for. Also in the news, boots on the ground are reporting that the budget, as we speak, has been read and discussed in Parliament for its third reading. So enormous news from Iraqi right now. So, you know, that sort of information coming out, and I can't remember where I read hang on. In world news, Saudi Arabia is selling oil to China for gold. We have heard those rumors, and now it seems to be confirmed. They sell it to China for yuan and immediately exchange it through the Shanghai International Gold Exchange for gold. This is important because Saudi Arabia is stockpiling gold. What is gold necessary for? The de-dollarization.
Everything.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is clear commodities are winning and fiat is dying. Buckle up, everyone. The First Republic Bank shares, so that sunk 49% after earnings report. This is the news the current administration is trying to bury and keep us distracted from. The failure of other banks, of another bank, signals the banking crisis isn't over. So,
Mate,
it's
the banking
like,
crisis is only just freaking beginning.
yeah. Oh, yeah. What we've seen with Silicon Valley and everything like that, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more of that to come. So there's a lot of this potentially heading towards, some major stuff happening in the coming days and weeks. And the closer the Iraqi dinar gets to its, I guess, the valuation that everybody's waiting for, could be the beginning of the domino effect on everything else that sort of transpires. Because not only are we seeing the dollar collapse, the fiat dollar collapse, but we're talking about countries doing their RV. So there are multiple countries getting ready to revalue as well. The Vietnamese dong, all those other countries around there. So it's like, and of course, if they're revaluing based on their commodities and not the US dollar, then it's like it's massive. It's absolutely massive with what's coming. So
that's a good point that I actually hadn't considered. And I'm not sure why I hadn't considered it. It's really so freaking obvious when you think about it. I've had the question from a lot of people, well, from a couple of people, one person in particular that I've spoken about with this over the last few years about the whole RV thing. They're like, well, how can they revalue? How can they just turn around and say, well, that's now going to be worth? So, like, if we think about if we use dong for an example, I mean, $10 gets you $1 million dong or something like that. To be about right, roughly.
No, 70, 80 New Zealand dollars. So probably 50 or 60 Australian. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, okay, that'd probably be right. But anyway, just use an arbitrary figure. How can you then turn around and go, well, now it's worth 1-to-1 or 1-to-4 US dollars? But what you just said makes that possible because they're not basing it against the power of the US dollar, which is diminishing because the US dollar was so dominant for so long because of the petrodollar, the agreement they had with Saudi Arabia. With that out of the way, with that null and void, then if they're using what they've got in the ground and their own resources, then of course, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. I don't know why I didn't see that before. I feel so stupid.
Well, it's the only way it can work, but then so you can have your country's commodities as a value, but I mean they're hard to trade instantly. So, but you take that value and then you back it by gold or silver or whatever those currency, whatever the metals are,
or milk,
and then or milk or grain.
Sorry, I'm just saying milk because they used that as an example for how XRP could work.
Oh, okay.
If you ever watched that video a couple of years ago. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but it's like, I guess doing that whole transition is not a 5-minute job. It's been years and years and years in the planning and bringing out. And, that's what we're seeing now. I guess I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors too around the Iraqi dinar and talking about all their financial officials heading over to Washington and meeting with the Fed and all those sorts of things. But who's controlling those conversations? I guess at the end of the day, that was also about while the American dollar has been so strong for over 20 years since the USA went in and decimated that country, basically stole all their resources. It's basically giving them access back to all their own resources. And doing the revalue that way. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't know whether we'll truly know, but just how it transpires and how it works, how it sort of comes to fruition we are so close to that right now, and it's all coming through mainstream, through the banking sectors and through everything. So that to me is I guess leading the horse, whatever, out into the world to see, for the world to see.
You just said something that reminded me of something else that I saw the other day, and a little bit of an epiphany, I guess, that I had the other day. Here in Australia, ANZ are talking about, Sarah doesn't have a local ANZ branch anymore that she can go to. Her local branch, which is just up at Ashmore City, is now business banking only. So if you're a private customer, you can't go there and withdraw money, deposit money, anything like that. You've got to use the ATM. And I know in Victoria, they're already going, you're not going to be able to access any cash through the branch. So you won't be able to deposit cash. You won't be able to withdraw cash through the branch. You'll still be able to do that through an ATM, but not through the branch. And of course, everybody's up in arms about it. And I understand that, and particularly if people don't fully comprehend what's going on. And it can be a bit scary. I mean, on one hand, we've got people going, we're going to have these CBDCs and they're going to be really, really bad because they'll be able to control. Absolutely, they will. That's yep. I don't necessarily like CBDCs. The ones that are going to be issued by the central banks, they're going to be real fucking dangerous. The ones that are going to be, yeah. But that's not to say that they're all bad. And something I saw with regards to banks not having access to cash and things like that was something else. And is that you will be the custodian of your money. And we've spoken about this before. You will be the custodian of your money. It'll probably be on your phone. It'll probably be on your phone through an app, whether that's the Lobster app or whatever. But that's where your wages will get paid to. It won't be paid to a bank. It won't be. You have no need to go to the bank. So of course the banks have been starting to do that because they're actually going to be redundant. And we've spoken about that with the facts of the likes of RJG, old Gould, James Gould, is that the quantum financial system was written to do away with banks. They're not needed, and they're not. And you know what? This scares the shit out of the banks, so they're trying to create as much control as they can right now, because they know that their time is come, their time is up, and this is how we take the power away from those power structures. Is because we think about the controlling or the ruling elite, let's call them parasites. They're made wealthy through the banking system. Without that banking system, they can't be wealthy, because if you're the custodian of your money, because think of this, for the last 200 years plus, they have been the custodian of your money. You have been a unsecured creditor to the bank. And if I don't care whether you believe me on that or not, it's still true. Go and look it up. If you've got money in the bank, you're an unsecured creditor. It's that simple. But they have been the custodian of your money. Now you will be the custodian of your money. So why do we need a bank? If you want to buy something from overseas, if you want to go down, you're going to have everything right there on your wallet. You go and buy a new car. Cool. Here we go. And go, okay, I don't have the full amount for it, but we can set up a smart contract that says this is going to come out each and every week. Great. That's what's going to happen here. So there's going to be no need for the banks. So I don't think it's anything to be fearful of. It's probably something to embrace and learn about. Obviously every system can be, well, maybe not every system can be corrupt, but there's likely to be some bad actors in any system is probably a better way to put it. But I don't know if this is done right through the QFS, I don't know that they're going to have the opportunity to corrupt it.
Yeah, there's more to the QS than just some hotshot computer system. It runs much deeper than that. And
I think so too.
I think it has off-world capabilities or the ability. Maybe it's connected to our soul. It knows us better than we do.
That's some X-Files shit right there. Twilight Zone. Remember that show?
Yeah.
We'll have to get that music. Right, we're getting close to the bottom of the hour again here, Neil. I can't believe that we've filled up an hour.
It's not hard. It's not hard with what's going on, and again today we've really only kind of scratched the surface, and I'm sure most of our viewers probably if you're up to speed with kind of what we're watching, then you're watching a lot of the same stuff. And if anything, it's probably a confirmation that we're all in this together. We're all watching. There's no coincidence. We're all watching the same stuff. We're meant to be watching it. We're meant to be here, all on the same page, supporting each other, and collectively preparing ourselves for what's to come. And that's nothing short of exciting. The people's lives that are going to be changed. It might seem a bit scary to begin with, but we're ready. Everybody here that's here is ready. And if you're not ready, hurry up.
Yeah, absolutely. Amber, no, it wasn't that video, but that was a brilliant video, by the way. I can't even remember what we were talking about now, but it wasn't that video because I would have remembered that you posted it. Yeah. But yeah, Neil, go and watch that video that Amber's talking about.
I can't see it. Where did she put it?
She put it in the chat. Oh, just go to her timeline.
Okay, yeah. Good to see you here, Amber. Love and hugs from the other side. There it is. Sending big like. Oh, there you go.
Back at you. Hey guys, if you are new or if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell icon. It'll notify you when we're going live when we've put something up. Apparently that helps the algorithm. I don't know. It's all the YouTube guys say. So I just thought that was what I was supposed to say too. It's been great to be here with you next week. And I'm giving this a little bit of thought. So here's something for you to work on, Neil, or for us to work on. Next week, we're going to talk about Antarctica.
Oh, wow. Have we got just an hour for that? Can we
it might be 2 or 3 parts, but next week we're going to start talking about Antarctica. And I'm actually, and I say this proudly, actually, I'm one of the 2% of the population that's been there.
Yeah. Wow.
But I didn't see anything dodgy. Probably because it was on the piss, but that doesn't matter.
You probably only went to one snippet that they allowed. Is that where they put all the flags down there, all the different countries?
Yeah. So I flew into McMurdo. Pegasus wasn't open that day, so I flew into McMurdo and went up over the hill to Scott Base. So McMurdo's the American base, Scott Base is the New Zealand base. My accommodation was at McMurdo, but the bar, and because I was a Kiwi, the bar was open. It was a Thursday. The bar was open at Scott, so I went over there. And because it was a Thursday, the Americans were allowed at Scott Base. They're only allowed at Scott Base one night a week because it's a much better atmosphere for getting on it. But I happened to luck it out. So the first rule of Antarctica, if it's your first night on Antarctica, you're not allowed to sleep. That's an old military rule. So I had a barrack block, and my gear was there, but I slept on the Herc on the way back home.
I was going to ask something, but I can't. I'm listening to you, and I know you did. But I guess Antarctica is I don't know. It's a magical place, and there's. I think that might be where we'll learn when we learn the truth about Antarctica and its connection to the rest of this realm.
I think so too. We're going to be hearing a little bit from Admiral Byrd next week.
Yeah, I remembered too because our guest last week was Tim Webb.
Yes,
and be good to catch up with him, see if he's connected with his uncle.
Yeah, of course, because he did time at Deep Freeze.
Yeah.
That was. So, I remember. Deep Freeze obviously was a big thing. There was a naval PX, a US naval PX in Christchurch. I know. I went in it once and got told I wasn't allowed to buy anything because I wasn't a US citizen. So it was a US naval PX, and you could only buy in there if you were a US Navy, US serviceman. So interesting. I was very young AC or LAC at the time. I was like, what's this? And then now it's gone. So they don't. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, well, Christchurch was a leaving point for anybody travelling down to the Antarctica, wasn't it? It still is.
Yeah. It's the gateway. So the US still travel through Christchurch. Their National Guard flies Hercs out every year, ski Hercs, and they also have C-17s. They used to have C-5s, C-17s, and C-141s, which is the C-17s is the Globemaster, the C-5s is the Galaxy, and the C-141s are the Starlifters. I think they've decommissioned the Starlifters, the C-141s. The C-5s still fly, but they only fly C-17s down there now. Those things are freaking huge. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I actually had a job at the yard That's how I managed to get to the ice, loading aircraft, loading stuff backwards and forwards from the ice. It was good fun.
How long were you down there for, Andrew?
We're Antarctica.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Okay.
I just went down to get on the piss. I told you that. No.
Right.
There was a spare seat on the Herc, and because I'd worked so hard in the yard and was going above and beyond, they went, "Yep, Hawks, you can go to the ice. We've got a spare seat." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Oh, wow. Well, here's the thing, and we're on the hour now, but I'm looking forward to doing that next week. Here's the thing. If there's something else happens between now and then,
you'll hear about it.
Put it off the following week, or
that's
or
right.
Combine the two.
Yep,
you know?
that's right. It's tentative as to, so we're looking to do Antarctica next week. If something comes up more important, we will cover that first. We may even do a special show. Who knows?
But also remember the clip that we started today's show with was, and you could probably end the show with that same clip, Andrew, because if that every time that man speaks, he is actually talking. Well, he's talking code, and if that wasn't some form of code, well, maybe that was code for us all to see. But around the traps and the things they're saying, that's some awesome code.
Yep.
And we're all aware of what that could mean. And if that's turning the lights out and moving into darkness, and everything is under control, all assets are in place, then maybe now's the time, or we're really, really close to that point. So
yeah, absolutely. So we're going to finish it off with this, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week, 11:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That is 13:30 or 1:30 p.m. in New Zealand. It's 9:30 p.m. US Eastern Standard on Wednesday night.
And 8:33 p.m. 8:33 p.m. in Canada.
Yeah, an hour earlier. So, guys, if you haven't already, there's a link in the description to join our Telegram chat where we do drop stuff throughout the week. All right, guys, so we'll finish out with this. We'll see you later.
See you guys.
No, get those lights off.
Let's start again.
No, get those lights off. Off. Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready? Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights.
Turn off the lights.
Turn off the lights. Turn them off.
Turn off the lights.
It's coming.
Oh, yeah. I got goosebumps in.
So much nicer.
All right, ladies and gents, we'll catch you later.